Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm very disturbed about what I've heard here today. There's a saying among country lawyers that if you have the facts, you pound the facts. If you don't have the facts, you pound the table. When you can't pound the table, I guess some of my Democratic colleagues choose to pound the witnesses. That was inexcusable. What just happened in this committee, attacking the witnesses personally instead of addressing the merits of the evidence being presented, indicates to me that my Democratic colleagues know the evidence is becoming increasingly conclusive. It reminds me of a line from a movie, A Few Good Men, Jack Nicholson, "You can't handle the truth." The evidence will either convict or acquit in any criminal proceeding or civil proceeding. If there's no wrongdoing, the evidence or the lack of evidence will support that conclusion. The problem of the suspicion of wrongdoing is compounded by the withholding of evidence, the misrepresentation of the evidence in hand, and the obstruction of an investigation but not denying access to information that would be or could be evidence. At this point, there's a growing public perception, and it's reflected in the polls, Mr. Chairman, that President Biden, his son Hunter, other family members, and business associates were engaged in some form of criminal activity. It is the responsibility of this committee to pursue the truth and report it to the American people. I'm not sure that's what's happening on the other side with my colleagues. It is vitally important that our efforts be conducted openly, without prejudice, with no other agenda other than arriving at the truth, regardless of our politics. It is vitally important. As Professor Turley has pointed out, you don't undertake an impeachment inquiry lightly. This has profound implications for the future of this country and our ability to govern ourselves. We have seen repeatedly obstruction efforts to deny this committee access to information that's material to this investigation. Now, I want to ask Professor Turley a question. In your view, could the promise of foreign access to any government official, whether it's the Vice President or anybody else, that only materially benefited a family member, could that be influence peddling?
Yes, and as I point out in the testimony, courts have found that various benefits to family members can be attributed as a benefit to the principal. That has included everything from throwing a golf contest in the favor of a son of a politician to paying for gifts. In fact, I was lead counsel in the last Porteous trial, in the last impeachment trial for a judge, and that was the trial in the U.S. Senate. My client, Judge Porteous, was accused, among other things, of benefits going to his family. And so there's certainly precedent, not only in criminal cases, but in impeachment cases for making that next.
Okay, I want to be more specific. If Vice President Biden used his office to influence domestic or foreign policy for the financial benefit of his son, even though Vice President Biden may never have received a dime, but it resulted in millions of dollars going to his son or his brother or other family members or business associates, and used his office to influence either domestic or foreign policy for their benefit, could that be a violation of the public trust?
Absolutely. In fact, it's perhaps the most quintessential violation of the public trust, because you're not acting in the public's interest. It's a form of public corruption that this government, this country, has declared as corrupt in other countries around the world. Sir, I don't want to jump on your time because I know you all have important things to do, but I would like to respond to the attack that you mentioned.
You may do so.
Thank you, sir. I'd like to explain what that attack dealt with, if nothing else, for members of the committee than for my 3 children here, who may be a little surprised by what they just heard. As they, I think, know, I've spent my life challenging what is called morals legislation. What the Democratic member attacked me for are laws that dictate to others how they should live their lives. Some of those laws have been used against gay and lesbian couples. They've been used against minorities. The individual that the member described, I condemned. I represented the sister wives in a case challenging that law on the basis of individual rights. The trial court ruled in our favor and struck down that law the first time that type of law had ever been struck down. The 10th Circuit later dismissed on technical grounds. But I just want to end with one other thing, and that is it's not going to make a difference. You know, this has become a pattern of witnesses, whistleblowers, FBI agents, journalists being attacked in Congress. It won't make any difference. It won't change the constitutional standard. It won't negate any evidence that you have. But at some point, you've got to say, enough. You know, that we have to have something, the public has to have something in Congress to look to have faith. And I have to tell you, it's not that I think that absurd attack meant any difference to my children or to the people that are watching. It makes a difference to our process.